Hi, this is James Shug with Westpac London's end of day report for Tuesday the 10th of January. A bit of return of risk appetite can be reported today. Decent gains on European stock markets in particular. The main drivers though seem to be external to Europe. We had, after the US close yesterday, reasonable results from Alcoa, kicking off the US earnings season. They actually beat analysts' estimates on sales, and there's some analysis that actually shows that if the market closes higher after Alcoa reports, 75% of the time over the last 10 years, we've actually seen at the end of the US earnings season, stock markets higher than at the start of the season. So on that basis, it was a positive signal for markets. Also, we had Chinese imports numbers that were quite soft that actually boosted market expectations that the Chinese authorities might actually start putting in place stimulus to boost their economy, and that helped equities along as well. In contrast to the weak import story in China, though, we did have other numbers which showed that Chinese imports of copper have been particularly solid, and that was supportive of some commodity prices, particularly copper, and indeed the commodity firms. On the data front, it wasn't particularly exciting today. We had a small business confidence survey for December. It was stronger in its last read for 2011, in line with most other business surveys for late last year. And also economic sentiment, which is a measure of consumer confidence. The January reading was the strongest since February last year from the IBD TIPP survey, which is the first of the monthly confidence indicators, consumer confidence indicators we get for the US. So they were positive, but they weren't the reason for the gains that we saw on the US market, or are seeing on the US market at the moment, which have basically been in place right since the start of the session. And are due, as I say, to the China stuff and the earnings stories. All right, so that's pretty much the news today. In terms of market movements, we've got the Dow currently up 0.75, 0.75%, at 12,485. The FTSE in London closed up 1.5%. The French market closed up 2.7%. The Germans up 2.4%, and the Italians, they managed a 3.1% gain today. I mentioned the US up 3/4. So on the commodity prices today, pretty solid. Copper up 2.8%, reflecting that China story that I mentioned before. Gold prices are up 1.9% at $1,638 an ounce, and oil's on 1.7% gain at the moment at $103 even a barrel. And the Aussie dollar at 1.033 against the US dollar. It's up about a cent on when I spoke yesterday. Okay, I'll speak to you again tomorrow.